Stasio for the Advocacy and Inclusion segment. I'm here today with my guest, Senator John Mannion. John, thank you for being here today.
BJ, thank you for having me. And of course, thank you for everything you do for the community and for Western New York. You know, you're a very strong advocate, and I'm proud to be here today. And I thank you for asking me.
My first question for you is, what is the committee that you chair? Can you tell us a little bit about it and more background about yourself, if you would?
Sure. So the committee is a newly established standalone committee called the Disabilities Committee. And I'm really thankful that I work with somebody who's such a strong leader who leads with integrity, Andrea Stewart-Cousins. We, after I was elected, had some great conversations, and this was part of a committee called Mental Hygiene and Developmental Disabilities, I believe was the old committee. And as somebody who, you know, I guess I would say, really cares about this community and hopefully has been a strong advocate, we had a conversation about breaking this committee off, making sure that it was dedicated to people with disabilities, that of course there's, you know, overlapping issues and concerns, but that mental health or mental hygiene be a standalone committee, and this one. So where I come from is, you know, I come from a family, like all families, who have people with challenges, including disabilities. My aunt had Down syndrome. She lived in residential facilities. I watched as my father would act as an advocate for her, and we saw a lot of great things happen regarding her care over the course of time. But we also saw some times where, you know, they could have done better. So I always had that with me. And then my wife and I have 3 children. My oldest, Jack, was diagnosed with autism at age 3.5, and he had a multitude of different behaviors that were impacting his learning that got in the way of sort of his success. And he had, fortunately, was tested relatively young, had a lot of early intervention. It didn't come without bumps in the road. It didn't come without strong advocacy from my wife or myself or others that were in Central New York, which is where I'm from, around Syracuse, that were helpful in making sure that he got the services that allowed him to be successful. You know, and I'm proud to say that he is successful, that he's going to graduate from college, and you know, he's a great kid. But I saw when you provide people with support and, to a degree, their own autonomous, I guess, interventions or assistance, that's when you can see those successes. And sometimes we paint with a very broad brush. So I know you asked me, I know I'm kind of rambling here, BJ, I apologize, you know, but I know you're giving me the room and the space to say this. But I will say that, you know, that committee is an important one. I am thankful that I chair it. And what's great about it is I have so many individuals out there in organizations like yourself that I know are going to be supportive, that are going to make sure I'm fighting. And, you know, I think hopefully we've already done some good there. So thank you for letting me kind of ramble on.
That's okay. This show is about fun and educating. Next question. How was the advocacy experience during the budget for you? Was that good to see all the providers, families, and advocates come together to make the budget what it was for people with IDD and developmental disabilities? How was that experience for you?
It was really a good one. Of course, it's a learning one. And as we've spoken before, although have great interest in and have been involved in this community, I have been a public school teacher. I've seen the good that can happen in public education, but this is, you know, this is new for me. So it was absolutely essential for me to engage with multiple groups, to hear their concerns about housing, hear their concerns about access to vaccinations, hear their concerns about proper funding. And if I didn't have that experience, it really, I don't think it would have been, we would have had the victories that we did. I know this also, everybody was pushing along. People were contacting, you know, the governor's office, the Senate and Assembly offices. They were holding rallies, they were making phone calls, they were writing letters. And, you know, in a world that's new to me, I think it was good to the fact that we have this Zoom experience because I can engage with a lot of different groups frequently and individuals. But also there was some frustration in trying to get that message across to Senate leadership to make sure they knew what our priorities were, because it was just a different world. And it wasn't that they didn't hear, because I think that they did. I think that it was just, you're out there in the unknown of the virtual world. So you couldn't 100% know, are they listening? And then hope, fortunately, we had some restorations in the budget that were absolutely critical. And so for me, it was a good experience. And really, I hope I'm a quick study, but the folks that have been teaching me and advocating, I think did a great job, and was absolutely essential for me taking my role as chair very seriously and hopefully doing a good job.
What would you tell people who are afraid to talk to their elected officials? Should they be afraid, and how should they approach it?
Yeah, well, of course they should not. You know, we're again, we all you know, we all are just regular people. And fortunately for me, I've met a lot of good people that are in the Senate, that are in the Assembly, that are trying to do good work. I think there are some barriers there because there's so many emails and calls that come to our offices every day. But you know, if you connect with the right person on staff, then you're going to have a gateway into you know, the ears of elected officials. And it's absolutely essential, and it's effective. And when I came from public education, we made sure that our elected officials knew what our issues were in public education. And if we weren't there, I don't know if they would have known. So it has to be done. It's essential to making sure that people have a voice. And, you know, I know I was stammering there for a while, but we're just regular folks like everybody else. And many of us, I think, have a really good heart and are driven into this profession to try to do good. So they need to hear it from the people who are, you know, really the boots on the ground.
What's your hope as a parent and as a constituent of New York State yourself for the service system for those with IDD and developmental disabilities? What's your hope for the future for services?
Well, that's a great question. And again, I'm new to it. This goes back to your question about engaging with different individuals and advocates. And I think it's loud and clear what the challenges are out there. Number one, that we have to make sure that the funding is there so that there are options for people. And those options include, you know, housing options, not just the first housing option that pops up, but if people need housing, or depending on which level they need, that there be a lot of opportunity there. I think there's great frustration in that area. And then, you know, along those lines, as it relates to funding, people need services, and those services sometimes have to be provided by different individuals. We have to make sure that the funding is there to properly compensate, retain, and recruit individuals that are providing these services, because they're so necessary. And I've seen the value in my own family of when you have somebody that is experienced, that is well-trained, that is well compensated, that has a rewarding situation as it comes to their employment, they deliver better services. So we got to make sure that the funding is there as it relates to housing and staffing. And all of those things are tied to choice, that the individual knows best what services are out there that they need, not more, not less. You know, it needs to be targeted, and that target comes with choice. So I see those as the challenges moving forward. And I'm listening to what people have to say, and that's what I'm hearing.
Well, as I've said to you before, as an advocate, I think there needs to be more public awareness that people with IDD and developmental disabilities are human beings just like everybody else. And I think that'll help bridge the gap with services for people, in my opinion, because if you put the human connection to the issue, then it creates that connection, in my view.
Absolutely, BJ. And for me, as somebody who taught in a classroom for 28 years, I had lots of kids that came in with a variety of different disabilities. And what public schools try to do is to make sure that the proper accommodations are there for exactly what you're saying, that we're all equal. We all deserve to live a dignified life. We all deserve to live a rewarding life. And just like some of us might need whatever assistance, be it eyeglasses or be it, for me, in large print so I can read. Some people need a little bit more than that, and they can be and have shown that they will be successful as long as certain supports are there. I 100% agree. I've seen it in the classroom. I've seen it in my own life. And I do think it's really important that we have our own committee in the Senate and the Assembly, because I do believe that it's going to contribute to people having their voice heard and making the absolutely necessary changes going forward.
Any final thoughts for our audience watching this today?
Well, I know this, BJ, we didn't know each other 4 months ago, and now I feel like I know you very well. I know, I appreciate, your sense of humor and your advocacy. It is a pleasure for me to be on this show. I know we're going to continue to have a great relationship moving forward in trying to get some good things done for the disabilities community. And I know that you're going to hold me to task also. So, I would just say, BJ, what do I have left? Well, what got you into this, BJ? When do you feel like you really became a leader as it relates to advocacy? What was sort of that moment for you, or what pushed you to do all the things that you do in advocating? Because just like you had, you kind of asked me the same question, so I'm interested to hear it.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to get on my soapbox too much, but I've always believed, and it took me a while to figure this out. And I know people who attend my congregation will be watching this. So the gifts that I've been given, my disability is a gift. It's not a curse. And I have the intelligence to use it to help people. And I'm going to do that. And no matter what your intelligence level is, or what your understanding is, you can help people just by being who you are, just by being what God created. God created me for this. I never planned on working with people with developmental disabilities. I always thought I would never be employable or have any goals in life. I thought I would be accepting that check, but I saw the value that I could offer. And over the years of doing the advocacy, I've learned how to work within the system and explain the system to people so it works for everyone. And I definitely appreciate the opportunity to work with all the New Yorkers with IDD and developmental disabilities around New York State, especially my home base of Western New York. I love you all. Keep up the good fight. Necessary trouble, good trouble. Remember the words of John Lewis. They live in us forever. And please consider getting vaccinated if you haven't done so already. And staff who support us, please consider doing so.
100%, BJ, I'm with you.
And thank you, Senator, for the chat today. This was good. God bless you.
God bless you, BJ.